Coronavirus is actually what we wake up to every morning. The children are aware, the adults are aware. But our concern today is on the disabled community. This set of persons, you find them on the road, looking very helpless, like they don't even know what is going on in our community. And so this is a great concern to us, and we had to come today to talk about preventive methods, how to create awareness for this set of persons, because we are all together in this. And so today on Against All Odds, I have with me on this program Mr. Obinna Ekujerionye. He's the chairman, Nigerian Association of the Blind FCT. It's good to have you on this program, sir.
Thank you, ma. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And we have a doctor with us in the house to talk to us on some basic things we need to know and some we already know. We have Dr. Christopher Otabo. He's a consultant surgeon. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Doc, for coming on very short notice. We actually planned to have the three clusters of the disabled community, and that is the blind, the deaf, and the physically challenged, which we're hoping that will join us before the end of this program. But before they join us on set, we will set the ball rolling. My name is Doshima Pius Ikerafe. So we'll start with Mr. Obinna. I'm sure there are some concerns or things you would like us to know. Right now, you're sitting representing the entire disabled community, okay? Before we'll have the rest join us. Yes. So maybe there are some concerns you would like to share with us, and so the doctor can also chip in or something.
Coronavirus has raised a lot of concerns. And if you talk about the persons with disability or the disabled community, I think that the most vulnerable, take for instance the blind persons who want to move around with their cane unguided with an aid, may want to touch here and there, and we all know that if this sticks to a steel, it lasts for 12 hours, and we don't even know when you go ahead to rub your hand on one steel or the other and to contact the virus. So even persons on wheelchair, they have the same issue. Thanks to the federal government who have just released most of us from their duty, those from level 1 to 12, I think not going to the office one helps a lot. But another concern is this: if people stay at home, for the persons with disability, who may not even have enough, let alone keeping for tomorrow, what will they do?
Okay. Before we go over to the doctor too, because you actually said something about you working with your walking stick, so maybe we should
sanitize my hand.
Yes.
Okay.
Doc, I see you have your sanitizer, but you can also make use of ours. One of the preventive methods that we know.
Okay.
And we're trying to practice. Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Otabo, Mr. Obinna actually said something about this set of persons being very vulnerable. And I agree with him. I quite agree with him. How will they protect their sticks? They're blind, they're moving on the road. They don't even know who they've touched or who they've not touched. And then same with persons with a wheelchair. What do you have to say about this?
Well, thank you for having me. I agree with the gentleman that has just spoken, Mr. Obinna, about the plight of people with disability, particularly as it affects prevention of the COVID-19 problem. the virus is a problem for everybody. Because even for people who are sighted, the virus does not have a color, and it's not touchable. So at the end of the day, it's a leveler for most people. Yeah. Because both sighted and non-sighted people, if you get to touch somewhere or touch something or shake hands, you can pick up the virus. For the disabled, it's a little bit peculiar because they will need to be helped. They will need to grope to be able to find their ways. So the solution is what we have just demonstrated, which is the use of hand sanitizer. It should always be in their pockets. If they have to grope to touch something, they sanitize. And then when they get home, they are expected to wash their cane and wash their hands, and dry it. So that way, they would not be as vulnerable. For people with a wheelchair, it is the same thing. And then I would advise that they go about with their face mask too, if they have to go out. But the best way to keep the virus at bay is to stay at home. You've got to stay at home. That's the way not to transmit it. That's the way not to get it. The government has said stay at home. We as medical workers, we have said stay at home. Except something very urgent and very life-threatening before people go out. In situations of war, people stay at home. And this is war. I know that there's need for us to go out to get food, and some people live on handouts daily, but we can have communities come together to assist each other. We can have family members caring about people. Do you have anything? Please send me food. If the government didn't say everybody should stay at home, people with disabilities should be singled out to stay at home.
So Bina, I think that's quite clear.
Yes, it's quite clear.
Before you say something, maybe he talked about the use of the mask.
Yes.
It should be emphasized, okay? Now, the use of this mask, a lot of people just use it. With you here, you throw more light to that. This mask that we just buy and use, how effective is it?
Okay, it's very effective, but it's not for everybody on the streets to be wearing masks all over the place. Okay. But it's good to have it handy. For instance, if you take a public vehicle and you find someone coughing around you, you bring out your mask and put it on your face to cover your nose and your mouth. It can help prevent inhaling droplets that is coming from the person that is sneezing or coughing. Then also, for people who have fever and they are coughing, they are already suspicious of having the virus, or maybe with difficulty with breathing. Once you start having symptoms, especially cough, you are now expected to have your mask and wear it permanently, because you are a danger to your loved ones and to the people around you. But for hospital staff, we have to wear masks all the time to see patients as they come in, because it's wise to assume that everybody has the virus until proven otherwise. So in that case, we take universal precautions. Most people will choose which way they want to wear. So it has a string attached for the ears, and then make sure that the mask is covering the mouth and the nostrils, and there's a flexible metal on top of it. That's the one that tells you that is the upper part, and then you fit it around the bridge of the nose to make sure there's no space between the mask and the nose. Okay, so you do this, you take it this, then you adjust it to cover the chin and the nose. Okay, then the flexible metal, you can now press it to take the contour of the bridge of the nose. So with this, you are good. So if someone is coughing around you, bring out your mask and wear it, and advise the person to wear his mask. If you are in an elevator that is enclosed and the social distance that you can give is not so long, it's not enough, you are advised to wear the mask. Like, people still go around, they are walking up the staircase and they are holding the rails. That's a bad practice. So you should avoid touching things as much as possible, because you don't know the last person that touched it. He may even look healthy and he touched it, but he may have the virus and he has contaminated the rail. And then you come, you are holding the rails. It can be transmitted. So there are so many ways in which it could be transmitted. But the best advice for now is to stay at home. That is the number one instruction. Then the others will follow, which is the hand sanitizer, the face mask, and the good adequate distance between people, which is minimum of 1 meter.
While Dr. Otabo was talking to us on the face masks and the importance of staying at home, our guest arrived, and that's the physically challenged community. So we'll just take the short break, and when we return, she'll be here with us.
This is Against All Odds.
If you're just joining us, the program is still Against All Odds on the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're still talking about coronavirus. Today, our major concern is for the disabled community, and we had to take a break when we had the second guest join us. Lois Alta, it's good to have you on this program. Lois Alta is here representing the physically challenged community. Before you came in, Mr. Obina was actually sitting in for all of you, and he shared the concern with us on how more vulnerable this set of persons are, especially those on the wheelchair. Okay, how will you sanitize your wheelchair and keep it well, and then the sticks and all that? And Doctor did justice to that. So maybe you also have a concern you want to share with us, how this set of persons can actually be preserved. But before then, maybe you should sanitize your hand. Okay, you came in with your sanitizer. Good to know.
Yeah, the number of persons with disabilities are over 20 million citizens with disabilities in this country. Persons with disabilities generally are prone and vulnerable to COVID-19 than other groups of people. Why? Because some of us who do not have mobility aids, they crawl on the floor. Like people from the grassroots who cannot afford buying mobility aids. Secondly, those with hearing impairment. If they don't have sign language interpreters who is going to interpret the precautions and measures to take in avoiding this illness or this pandemic, they are vulnerable. Person that uses a wheelchair almost 24 hours is only when I want to sleep, then I move out from my wheelchair to my bed. Okay, let me start by using my wipes. I use a wheelchair. I need to clean the surface of my wheelchair with this wipe. This is what I should do every 15 minutes to avoid the virus penetrating on the surfaces of my wheelchair. Same way with person that uses crutches. Have your wipes handy and your sanitizer also handy everywhere you go. And don't allow people to come close to you without using their sanitizers or wipes. His caregiver, who usually hold his hand in terms of moving around and about in US, what he does right now is he will stay like a meter away from him, and he'll be using his voice. Move to the right, go straight, go to the left, go backward, go forward. With his mouth. And I think it's safer that way, by holding a blind man to direct him on where to go.
Okay. Doc, there's something she said, and before you talk about it, when I was coming this morning, maybe I just had reasons to see that my car didn't start, so I had to take a public transport. And when I was going up the bridge, the physically challenged people were there, crawling with their hands on the bridge. How do we prevent these people from COVID-19?
It's the same thing I've said before. They should stay at home. Stay at home is not a joke because we're at war. Stay at home. Whether you are blind, whether you are physically challenged or deaf, stay at home. That is the number one instruction. Then the others will follow, which is the hand sanitizer that we have discussed, the face mask that we have discussed, and the good adequate distance between people, which is minimum of 1 meter. And if you notice someone has symptoms, which is cough, fever, difficulty in breathing, sore throat, then you become more cautious. And that's where your face mask will help you, or advise the person that is coughing or sneezing to have his own face mask. Yes, I agree that people who are crawling on the floor, they can come in contact with sputum from people who are infected and all that. That's why we say stay at home.
But some of them that stay at home, they don't have a job that pay them monthly.
That's not peculiar to disabled.
But what is government doing?
They are able-bodied men, people who have all their hands complete. They are not disabled. They depend on their daily hustle to get by. So this is a leveler. That's why I said the COVID is a leveler. Whether you have able or disabled, the economy does not differentiate between them. Lois, thank you. She's probably more economically endowed than many able-bodied people. So this rule is going to save so many people, and it's also going to save the healthcare workers. Okay, that's why we're emphasizing it. Stay at home. You can make calls. You have relatives. You can tell them, please, I'm at home. I don't have food. Can you send me money? Can you send me food? But if you use excuse of daily hustle to go out, then there's danger outside. So the number one advice is stay at home. That's if it is important for the able-bodied, it's more important for the physically challenged.
Yeah, look, I understand what you mean, but we all should be concerned with the plight of the persons with disability.
Yes.
In Nigeria here, the persons with disability are suffering so much that even to eat most of the times is a problem. We are talking of employment. A lot of us are graduates of no job. Like, for instance, I'm a master's degree holder and I don't have a job. We keep working from Federal Civil Service Commission to head of service, and they keep tossing us around. We have the National Disability Act that the President has passed 2018, and the enforcement, the implementation becomes a problem. They say 5%, at least 5% of any job that should be given should go to persons with disability, but they're not giving it. And so all we're trying to do now is to fashion a way out. And in this case, now what do we do? I am pleading on Nigerians, the well-meaning Nigerians, those who are handy to help persons with disabilities. Even getting this sanitizer is a problem to so many of us. The sanitizer that goes for like 500 or so before is 1,150 now. And so we are pleading to our brothers and sisters out there. There are some people who have given means of life. Please help us with all this. If you can come and drop them with NTA here, we'll come and pick it. Share to our people, especially those who don't have it. Even those who have the much cash, you can still help us so that we can, share to our brothers and sisters who do not have. Go to Karimajiji. You will see a lot of things happening. So please, we are appealing to the Nigerian, the citizens of this nation. Please, in any way you can help persons with disabilities at this crucial time, please do so.
Thank you. Yeah. So we also need to include persons with disabilities in the emergency response team that the president has set up. All our isolation, quarantine and medical centers should be inclusive of citizens with disabilities. We also want to see our media houses being inclusive in terms of announcement, news bulletin. There should be a sign language interpreter to be able to interpret for viewers with hearing impairment. We want to see inclusivity in every aspect as we try to reduce or end this pandemic called COVID-19. Thank you very much.
To add to what you have said, persons with visual impairment are not left out. You now see that the announcements will be made and they tell you copy this number on the screen.
Okay.
How can a person with visual impairment copy this number on the screen?
Okay. So you want it to be voiced out?
So that we can pick the numbers too.
Okay.
That is inclusivity. So like she has said, we need inclusion. Inclusion in all ramifications of life, because we are all human beings before we begin to talk of disability.
I quite appreciate all they have said, but I'm a medical person, and I'm here to talk about the medical aspect. But all the points they've made, they are all valid. It breaks my heart to see how the disabled people are left out in the scheme of things. But I think it just goes down to how the economy is managed and the poverty rate in the country. But if the government can look into their well-being and create some special attention for them and special funding, it will help. But the general principles of staying out of trouble during this COVID is what I am emphasizing today.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Obina, for coming on this program. Lois Alta, thank you so much. And of course, Dr. Christopher Otabo, we appreciate your time. We've heard all that you've said, and we believe that Nigerians watching at home and abroad have actually heard your concerns, and it is our desire that the government will look into it, because together we need to fight this pandemic called COVID-19. It's been against all odds on the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and of course we have taken our time to listen to the plight of this set of persons in this community, really all together in this. Just as Dr. Otabo mentioned, the pandemic does not have class, it doesn't have level, it doesn't have color. We are all involved, and so everybody has to put hands on deck to make it work for all of us. So let us look into the plight of this set of persons and help them in every way that we can. We will see you again next week, same time. Stay with us. My name remains Toshima Pius Ikirabe.